There is a vegetable that grows in 30 days from a $5 bag of seeds. Your body absorbs 74% of its calcium. Milk delivers 32%. The dairy industry spends $150 million annually telling you milk builds strong bones. Meanwhile, this vegetable has been growing in kitchen gardens for 4,000 years. It fits in a bucket on your balcony, and no one told you it existed. Walk into any grocery store tonight. Watch the dairy aisle. Families loading their carts with gallon after gallon of milk. Children carrying those small cartons from school cafeterias. Elderly couples reaching for calcium-fortified options. They believe they are building stronger bones. They believe what the labels told them. 300 milligrams of calcium per serving. But here is what those labels never mention. In 1987, researchers at the New England Journal of Medicine measured exactly how much calcium the human body actually absorbs from milk. They used radioactive tracers to track calcium molecules through the digestive system. The number they found was 31%. For every 300 milligrams in your glass of milk, your body captures roughly 93 milligrams. The rest passes through unused, unabsorbed, wasted. You paid for 300 milligrams, you received 93. The label shows total calcium, not absorbed calcium, not bioavailable calcium, not what your bones actually get. This distinction matters more than any marketing campaign wants you to understand. Now consider what researchers discovered when they tested vegetables. In 1990, scientists at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska published a study comparing calcium absorption from kale versus milk. They gave participants measured doses of each and tracked absorption using dual isotope techniques. Kale calcium absorption averaged 40.9%. Milk calcium absorption averaged 32.1%. The vegetable beat the dairy, but kale was just the beginning. Researchers kept testing. Broccoli showed absorption rates near 48%. Bok choy reached 52%. And then they tested something unexpected, a common root vegetable that most Western kitchens use only for salads. The absorption rate hit 74.4%, more than double milk. More than any other food tested. Here is the hierarchy that nobody taught you in school. At the bottom sits spinach with 5% absorption. Oxalates in spinach bind to calcium and block your body from using it. Above spinach, you find milk at 32%, then kale at 41%, then broccoli at 48%, bok choy at 52%, and at the top of this pyramid sits one vegetable at 74%. We will reveal it shortly. First, you need to understand why you never learned this information. The blocking mechanism involves two compounds, oxalates and phytates. Spinach contains enormous amounts of oxalic acid. When calcium meets oxalic acid in your digestive system, they bind together and form calcium oxide crystals. These crystals cannot pass through your intestinal wall. They exit your body completely unused. This is why spinach shows only 5% absorption despite containing significant calcium. But here is what makes certain vegetables different. Members of the Brassica family contain very low oxalate levels. A research paper from India measured oxalate content across dozens of vegetables. Spinach showed the highest levels. The Brassica vegetables showed the lowest. One specific root vegetable had an oxalate ratio of just 5.2. The lowest calcium binding capacity of any vegetable tested was 1.02%. This vegetable works with your body instead of against it. No binding, no blocking, no waste. 74% of what you eat reaches your bones. Before I reveal which plant this is, you need to understand something about the system that kept this information from you. This is not conspiracy. This is economics. Follow the money and the pattern becomes visible. In 1995, the National Dairy Boards registered a trademark that would change American nutrition forever. 2 words, got milk. Within 5 years, awareness of this slogan reached 90% of the American population. The dairy industry spent $150 million each year supporting this campaign, teaching Americans that calcium comes from milk. But the lobbying started long before got milk. In 1870, when margarine first appeared as a butter substitute, dairy producers launched aggressive campaigns against it. They convinced state legislatures to ban margarine coloring. Some states required margarine to be dyed pink so consumers would reject it. This was not about health. This was about protecting market share. The dairy industry has been shaping American food policy for 150 years. Today, the results of that lobbying fill every school cafeteria in America. Public schools cannot legally serve a lunch without milk. The only exception is an expensive soy alternative that most districts cannot afford. Even when research shows milk may not be the best calcium source, the USDA continues requiring it. The agency that writes nutrition guidelines has financial connections to the industry it regulates. Tom Vilsack served as Secretary of Agriculture under 2 different presidents. Between those appointments, he worked for Dairy Management Incorporated. This organization exists specifically to promote dairy consumption. The man writing American food policy worked for the Dairy Marketing Board, then returned to write more food policy. This is the revolving door, government to industry, industry to government, policy shaped by profit. The USDA My Plate program replaced the food pyramid in 2011. It advises Americans to have dairy with every meal. The stated reason is calcium content, but almonds contain calcium, figs contain calcium, kale contains calcium. The difference is that almond farmers and fig growers do not have 150-year-old lobbying operations embedded in Washington. Now examine what the dairy industry chose to measure. Total calcium, not absorbed calcium, not bioavailable calcium, total calcium. This metric was selected deliberately. If labels showed bioavailable calcium, the hierarchy would flip completely. A glass of milk would show 93 milligrams absorbed. A serving of certain vegetables would show more than 100 milligrams absorbed, despite containing less total calcium. The comparison you always see is milk versus spinach. Dairy marketing materials love this comparison. Spinach has terrible calcium absorption. You would need to eat 15 cups of spinach to match 1 glass of milk. This is true, but it is also deliberately misleading. The comparison is never milk versus broccoli, never milk versus kale, never milk versus the 74% vegetable. Those comparisons would not serve the marketing narrative. In 2014, the British Medical Journal published results from a 20-year study involving 100,000 participants in Sweden. Researchers tracked milk consumption and bone fracture rates. Women who drank 3 or more glasses of milk daily had 60% higher rates of hip fracture. They also had twice the mortality risk compared to women who drank less milk. This is called the calcium paradox. Countries with the highest dairy consumption have the highest osteoporosis rates. The United States drinks enormous quantities of milk. American osteoporosis rates are among the highest in the world. Meanwhile, Japan consumes far less dairy. Japanese osteoporosis rates are lower. If milk built stronger bones, the opposite pattern should exist. Something else is happening. Researchers now believe that animal protein creates acid loads in the body. To neutralize this acid, the body pulls calcium from bones. The very calcium you consumed gets leached away to balance pH levels. You drink milk to build bones. The milk creates acid. Your body dissolves bone to neutralize that acid. The net effect may be 0 or worse. Now it is time to reveal the vegetable that has been hiding in plain sight. Walk into any Asian market. You will see bundles of them stacked near the entrance. Korean grandmothers buy them by the dozen. Japanese home cooks pickle them in rice bran. Chinese medicine practitioners have prescribed them for 4,000 years. This vegetable grows in 25 to 30 days from seed. It thrives in buckets on apartment balconies. It self-seeds so aggressively that one planting can produce harvests for years. Your body absorbs 74% of its calcium, more than double what milk delivers. This is the radish. Not exotic, not expensive, not rare. The common radish sitting in the produce section of every grocery store. The same radish that Americans slice thin for salads and then ignore. The same radish that costs less than $2 per bunch. The same radish that most Western cooks have never considered as a calcium source. Researchers in India measured calcium content across root vegetables. Radish contained the highest concentration at 2.85% dry weight, but raw content means nothing without absorption. The same study measured oxalate ratios. Radish scored 5.2, the lowest of any vegetable tested. Low oxalates mean high absorption. This is why radish calcium reaches your bones at 74% efficiency. The radish belongs to the Brassica family, the same family that includes broccoli, kale, bok choy, and cabbage. In 1993, researchers published a comprehensive study on Brassica calcium absorption. They tested broccoli, bok choy stems, bok choy leaves, and kale. Mean absorption across all Brassica sources was 51.4%, significantly higher than milk at 32%. The entire family beats dairy, but radish beats even its relatives. 74% absorption makes it the champion of calcium delivery. And unlike broccoli, which takes 60 to 90 days to mature, radish produces food in less than 1 month. Here is what most people miss about radishes. The leaves contain more nutrition than the roots. A systematic review published in 2021 analyzed radish composition across multiple studies. Leaves showed higher concentrations of calcium, potassium, fiber, and fatty acids than roots. The greens that most Americans throw in the garbage are the most valuable part. In Korea, radish leaves are never wasted. They become kimchi. They go into soups, they are blanched and served as side dishes. Korean cuisine developed over centuries of understanding what Western nutrition science ignored. The leaf is not garbage. The leaf is medicine. Japanese cuisine follows the same pattern. Daikon radish appears in nearly every traditional meal. Pickled, grated, simmered in broths. Japanese cooks understood that this simple root vegetable provided something essential. They did not need absorption studies to recognize its value. Generations of healthy bones proved the point. Chinese medicine documented radish benefits over 2,000 years ago. Traditional texts prescribed radish for digestion, respiratory health, and bone strength. These were not random observations. Physicians recorded results across thousands of patients over centuries. Western researchers are only now confirming what Asian healers understood before the Roman Empire existed. Now let us talk about growing your own permanent calcium supply. You do not need a garden, you do not need land, you do not need farming experience. You need a 5-gallon bucket, some potting soil, and a $3 packet of seeds. That is your entire investment for unlimited calcium production. A single 5-gallon bucket can grow 18 radishes. Here's a better approach. Use a shallow container with more surface area. For example, an old storage bin with drainage holes drilled in the bottom, a wooden planter box, or even a baking tray with sufficient depth. More surface area means more radishes per container. Radish seeds germinate in 3 to 7 days. This is one of the fastest germinating vegetables. You will see green sprouts pushing through the soil within a week of planting. From that point, harvest comes in 21 to 25 more days. Total time from seed to food is less than 1 month. The growing requirements are minimal. Use loose, well-draining soil with good aeration. A pH between 5.5 and 6.8. At least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily. Keep consistent moisture without waterlogging. These conditions exist on most balconies, patios, and windowsills. Plant seeds half an inch deep and 1 inch apart. Water gently after planting. Keep the soil moist but not soaked. Radishes that dry out become woody and bitter. Radishes that stay too wet develop rot. The balance is simple once you understand it. Check your radishes around the 3-week mark. When the root reaches about 1 inch in diameter, it is ready for harvest. Pull gently from the soil. Shake off excess dirt. Do not throw away the leaves. Here is the secret to unlimited production. Succession planting. Every 2 weeks, plant a new batch of seeds. By the time you harvest your first crop, your second crop is halfway grown. By the time you harvest your second crop, your third is sprouting. This rotation creates continuous harvest from a single initial seed purchase. One packet of radish seeds contains hundreds of seeds. One packet costs less than $3. One packet can produce radishes for an entire growing season. Compare this to milk at $4 per gallon, week after week, month after month, year after year. The economics are not even close. Different varieties offer different advantages for home growers. Cherry bell radishes mature in just 22 days. They produce bright red roots about 1 inch across. This variety tolerates beginner mistakes better than most. French breakfast radishes take 28 days. They grow longer and milder, with a crisp texture perfect for eating raw. Watermelon radishes need 50 days, and they reward patience with stunning pink interiors. White icicle radishes extend to 6 inches long. They store better than round varieties and work well in cooking. For maximum calcium production, consider the daikon. This Japanese variety grows up to 18 inches long. A single daikon can weigh 2 pounds or more. The leaves grow proportionally larger. More leaf mass means more calcium per plant. Daikon takes 50 to 60 days, but produces significantly more food per square foot than smaller varieties. Winter radishes offer another option. Black Spanish radishes and Chinese rose radishes can be planted in late summer. They mature in fall and store for months in cool conditions. Root cellars and refrigerators keep winter radishes fresh until spring. This extends your calcium supply through months when nothing else grows. Now let me explain why this information never reached mainstream nutrition education. The seed industry generates $60 billion annually from global farmers. Corn seeds, soy seeds, wheat seeds, cotton seeds. These are all annual crops requiring new seed purchases every planting season. The business model depends on repeat customers. Farmers must buy again and again. Radish seeds disrupt this model. Radishes self-seed aggressively, allow some plants to flower at the end of the season. The flower spikes produce seed pods. Those pods drop seeds. Next spring, radishes appear without any action from you. Buy seeds once, harvest forever. A crop that requires no repeat purchases generates no repeat revenue. No corporation builds marketing departments around products that customers only buy once. No advertising budget exists for vegetables that replace themselves. The supplement industry follows similar logic. Global omega-3 supplements generate $4 billion annually. Fish oil requires fishing fleets, processing plants, purification technology, encapsulation facilities, and cold chain distribution. The complexity creates barriers. The barriers protect profits. Calcium supplements operate the same way. Extraction, purification, tablet pressing, quality control, shipping. Every step adds cost. Every step adds profit margin. A radish growing in a bucket threatens none of these supply chains. A radish cannot be patented. A bucket cannot be licensed. A balcony garden generates no quarterly earnings for anyone except the person eating from it. Search PubMed for studies on milk calcium absorption. You will find thousands of papers funded by dairy councils, supplement manufacturers, and organizations with financial interest in the results. Now search for radish calcium bioavailability. You will find far fewer studies. No major corporation benefits from proving that radishes beat milk, so no major corporation funds that research. This is not conspiracy, this is structure. Economic systems promote what benefits economic systems. Research follows funding. Funding follows patents. Patents require control over the product. Radishes cannot be controlled. They grow, they spread, they seed themselves, they become free. What cannot be owned cannot be sold. What cannot be sold cannot be marketed. What cannot be marketed does not enter public consciousness. 3 generations of Americans grew up without knowing that radish calcium absorbs at double the rate of milk. Not because anyone actively hid this fact, because no one profited from revealing it, but the knowledge was never actually hidden. It was simply ignored by Western systems while remaining common understanding everywhere else. Korean families have known for centuries. They grow radishes in every kitchen garden. They eat the leaves and roots at nearly every meal. Korean bone health statistics outperform American numbers despite lower dairy consumption. The evidence was always visible to anyone willing to look outside Western nutrition orthodoxy. Japanese cuisine centered on radishes for similar reasons. Before industrial food systems existed, families grew what kept them healthy. Radishes kept them healthy. The practice continued generation after generation without requiring scientific validation. Grandmother knowledge encoded in recipes and garden layouts. Chinese medical texts documented specific radish benefits long before Western medicine existed as a discipline. Practitioners did not need molecular absorption studies. They observed patients. They recorded results. They built knowledge across millennia of clinical experience. This knowledge filled thousands of pages in texts that Western researchers never translated. The same pattern appears with countless traditional foods. Asian cultures developed sophisticated nutritional understanding through centuries of observation. Western science often takes decades to confirm what traditional practices already established. The Brassica family and its calcium absorption is just one example among many. Consider what happens when you cook radishes. Many people only eat them raw, but cooking transforms both flavor and nutrition. Sautéed radish greens taste similar to spinach, but deliver far more usable calcium. Roasted radish roots lose their sharp bite and become sweet and tender. Braised radishes absorb surrounding flavors while maintaining their nutritional profile. Pickled radishes preserve calcium content for months of storage. Each preparation method opens different possibilities for incorporating this vegetable into daily meals. The simplest approach requires no cooking at all. Harvest radishes in the morning when water content peaks. Rinse thoroughly under cold water. Slice roots thin and add to salads. Chop leaves and mix into any green salad. The peppery flavor complements milder lettuces perfectly. One handful of radish greens added to your lunch salad delivers more absorbable calcium than the glass of milk you were told to drink. Smoothies offer another easy method. Radish greens blend well with fruits. The mild bitterness disappears when combined with banana or mango. A morning smoothie with 1 cup of radish greens, 1 banana, and some berries provides calcium your body actually uses. Children who refuse vegetables often accept smoothies without complaint. The greens become invisible while the nutrition remains intact. Fermentation unlocks even more benefits. When you ferment radishes into kimchi or pickles, beneficial bacteria multiply throughout the food. These probiotics improve gut health. Better gut health means better nutrient absorption overall. The fermentation process also breaks down cell walls in the vegetable. This releases calcium that might otherwise remain locked inside plant fibers. Fermented radishes may deliver even higher absorption rates than fresh ones. Korean and Japanese cultures discovered this centuries ago through practice. Modern microbiome research is only beginning to explain why. Dehydration offers long-term storage without refrigeration. Slice radish roots thin and dry them in the sun or a low-temperature oven. The dried chips store for months in sealed containers. Radish leaves dry even faster. Crumble dried leaves into soups, stews, or rice dishes throughout the winter. The calcium remains stable through the drying process. You lose water weight but keep the minerals. 1 pound of fresh radish greens becomes a few ounces of concentrated nutrition that lasts until your next growing season begins. Now you understand the full picture. The dairy industry spent $150 million per year teaching you that milk builds bones. They spent 150 years lobbying governments to require milk in schools. They funded research that measured total calcium instead of absorbed calcium. They compared milk to spinach instead of milk to radishes. They built a system where the metric itself was designed to favor their product. Meanwhile, a vegetable that absorbs at 74% efficiency sat in produce aisles everywhere. Cheap, available, growing in backyard gardens across Asia, documented in medical texts for 4,000 years, ignored by the very systems claiming to optimize human nutrition. The radish does not care about marketing budgets. It does not care about lobbying operations. It does not care about research funding or patent protection or quarterly earnings reports. It cares about one thing: growing. Plant radish seeds and they will grow. Neglect them slightly and they will still grow. Forget to harvest some and they will flower, produce seeds, and plant themselves for next year. This is what a survival crop looks like, not freeze-dried emergency rations, not supplements shipped from factories. A plant that returns every season without asking permission. One 5-gallon bucket produces 18 radishes per cycle. At 4 cycles per growing season, that is 72 radishes from a single container. The leaves from those 72 radishes contain more bioavailable calcium than gallons of milk, all from a $3 seed packet and some potting soil. Scale this up: 4 buckets, 288 radishes per season, a shallow planter box holding 50 plants, a balcony garden covering an entire family's calcium needs. No refrigeration required, no expiration dates, no weekly grocery trips, no participation in the industrial food system that profits from your dependence. This is nutritional independence. The same independence that Korean grandmothers maintain through kitchen gardens. The same independence that Japanese families built through traditional cuisine. The same independence that Chinese medicine practitioners prescribed for 4,000 years. You know now what the dairy industry never wanted you to understand. You know that absorption matters more than total content. You know that 74% beats 32%. You know that a bucket and some seeds can replace a lifetime of milk purchases. The seed packets are waiting at every garden center. The buckets are available at every hardware store. The knowledge that was always free but never promoted is now in your possession. The dairy industry will continue spending $150 million annually. They will continue lobbying for milk requirements in schools. They will continue funding research designed to protect their market share. But they cannot stop what grows in your bucket. They cannot control what you plant on your balcony. They cannot patent a radish seed. For 4,000 years, this vegetable has waited. It waited while Western nutrition science looked elsewhere. It waited while billions of dollars flowed to dairy marketing. It waited while supplement companies built empires on calcium tablets. The radish is patient. It grows quickly and it waits indefinitely. Your body absorbs 74% of what radish offers. Your bones receive more than double what milk delivers. The leaves you were throwing away contain the highest concentration of bioavailable calcium available from any common food source. Plant your first seeds this week. Use the leaves in salads and soups. Start succession planting for continuous harvests. Watch a permanent calcium supply establish itself in a container on your balcony. The evidence is documented. The growing instructions are simple. The only question remaining is whether you will act on knowledge that the industrial food system never wanted you to have.